The city buzzed with its usual rhythm, horns honking, footsteps rushing, and voices blending into a steady hum of life. On the edge of the crowded sidewalk, two small figures sat quietly, almost invisible in the chaos. They were twins, no more than 10 years old, dressed in worn clothes that had seen better days. Between them sat a faded cardboard sign, handwritten with shaky letters, "Toy car for sale, to help mom." Resting beside the sign was their treasured possession, a little red toy car, its paint chipped and wheels slightly crooked from years of play. Most people walked by without a second glance. Some glanced down briefly, their eyes softening for a moment, but they continued on, too busy or unwilling to stop. The twins sat patiently, clutching each other's hands for comfort, their young faces carrying a determination far beyond their age. Every so often, one of them would glance hopefully at the toy, as if reminding themselves why they were there. Then, amidst the hurried crowd, a man paused. He was tall, dressed in an immaculate suit, polished shoes gleaming under the city lights, a picture of wealth and power. Unlike the others, he didn't rush past. His gaze lingered on the small scene, two children trying to trade their childhood treasure for something far greater than money. Something about it tugged at him, pulling him away from his world of boardrooms and skyscrapers. For the first time in years, the Millionaire CEO felt his steps slow, curiosity and something deeper stirring within him. The man's shadow fell across the cardboard sign, and the twins looked up nervously, unsure whether he would shoo them away like others had. Instead, he crouched down to their level, his expensive suit brushing against the gritty sidewalk. "What are you selling this car for?" he asked gently, his voice softer than they expected. The little boy hesitated, but his sister spoke bravely, her voice trembling. "We need money for our mom. She's sick, and we can't afford her medicine." Her small fingers clutched the toy car tightly before setting it back on the ground, as if letting go of it was the hardest thing she'd ever done. For a moment, the CEO didn't respond. He stared at the old toy, its scratches and dents telling the story of countless afternoons of laughter and play. Then he looked at the children, their eyes wide, their faces pale with worry, their hope balancing on a fragile thread. Something inside him shifted. He remembered his own childhood, long nights where his mother worked 2 jobs, and he sat by a window wondering if she'd ever come home. He had escaped poverty, built an empire, but here, in front of him, was a reflection of everything he once was. The busy city moved around them as if nothing extraordinary was happening, but for the man and the children, the world seemed to pause. The CEO realized this wasn't just a toy sale. It was a silent cry for help, and he couldn't walk away. The CEO cleared his throat, fighting the lump forming there. "How much are you asking for this car?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The twins exchanged a glance. The boy finally whispered, $20, that's how much the pharmacy said we still need. His words carried both desperation and hope, as if $20 were the key to saving their world. The man reached into his wallet, pulling out a crisp bill. But instead of handing it over, he surprised them. "I'll take the car," he said with a smile. He carefully lifted the scratched toy in his polished hands, holding it as if it were made of gold. "It's worth far more than $20 to me." The girl blinked in confusion. "But, it's just a broken toy." He shook his head slowly. "No. It's not just a toy, it's love. It's sacrifice. And that makes it priceless." He slipped several $100 bills into the boy's small hand. Their eyes widened, trembling as they stared at the money. It was more than they had ever seen. "This will cover the medicine," he said gently. "And a little extra, to make sure your mom rests and heals." Tears pooled in the children's eyes. They didn't know how to thank him, but their gratitude shone brighter than words. For the first time that day, hope felt real. As the man stood, clutching the toy car, he realized it wasn't him who had given, they had given him something too, a reminder of humanity. That evening, the CEO sat alone in his penthouse office, city lights glittering like stars beyond the glass. On his desk rested the scratched toy car, its faded red paint dull under the lamp. Yet to him, it gleamed brighter than any trophy or deal he had ever closed. He leaned back in his chair, thinking about the twins' small, determined faces. They hadn't begged, hadn't complained, they had simply offered what little they had, willing to part with their only toy for their mother's health. The image struck him harder than any business failure or victory ever could. For years, he had measured success by profit margins and luxury possessions. But today, two children with nothing had reminded him of what truly mattered: love, sacrifice, family. The toy car wasn't just a relic of their childhood, it was a symbol of their courage and hope. Moved deeply, he picked up his phone and called his assistant. "Find out where those children live," he instructed, his voice softer than usual. "And make sure their mother gets the best medical care available, no limits." As he ended the call, his hand lingered on the tiny car. For the first time in a long while, he felt a warmth in his chest that no amount of money had ever brought him. The CEO realized that wealth wasn't about what you kept, but about what you gave. And those children had given him something priceless, a reason to be human again. The very next morning, the twins woke up to the sound of footsteps outside their small apartment. When they opened the door, they froze. Standing there was the same man from the street, the millionaire CEO, this time without the polished arrogance, but with a warm smile. Beside him stood a doctor and two staff members carrying bags of groceries and medicine. "Good morning," the CEO said gently. "I think your mom deserves the best care. From today, she'll have it." Tears filled the mother's tired eyes as she tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. The children clung to her, overwhelmed, not fully understanding how their scratched toy car had brought this miracle to their doorstep. The doctor stepped forward, assuring them that treatment would begin immediately and that they didn't need to worry about a single expense. The CEO then bent down to the twins' level, holding out the little toy car. "This belongs to you," he said. "It reminded me of something important. That love and sacrifice are worth more than anything money can buy." The children hugged the car tightly, their eyes shining with relief and gratitude. For the family, life would never be the same again. And for the CEO, neither would his heart. That day, he didn't just save a mother's life, he rediscovered his own humanity. Sometimes, it takes the smallest hands and the simplest acts of love to remind even the richest souls what true wealth really is.